What is going on, everyone, and welcome back to more Black Desert. So, with the next week's patch, on console at least, the Dark Knight and a few other classes are coming out. So I figured I'd try to make you a quick guide video. So I'm going to be going over priority skills and just like stuff I would use in general. Keep in mind that I know that Awakening is not out for any class yet, so what I'll be going over is like just the skills I would recommend. I'll also go over the Awakening stuff when it does come out, so you guys can just like reference point it in terms of like priority stuff. But I will go over stuff that you will have on console, and whenever Awakening comes out, you guys can just refer back to this video as well. I'm also aware that on console, Raboms don't exist yet. And honestly, like, it doesn't really matter. There are some good ones, but ultimately, regardless of when it's out, or even if you were playing on PC, these are kind of just filler skills that aren't like high priority either way. So yeah, I don't really know where to start, except in terms of gear, I'm not really sure what's out yet and what isn't. I just know Zarka came out on Xbox, so that's like the priority weapon. The boss gear is always the way to go. So where do I start? In terms of gear, this is something you are going to be going for in the future. I know like half of these things don't even exist yet, so whether you are a console or Xbox player, Zarka is the one you want to be going for eventually. I'm not even sure what crystals are out yet. I'm pretty sure the black magic crystals come out with Valencia, and precisions are generally the way to go for all classes, and you should get them. Dandelion, I'm not sure when it comes out, but it's the best in slot for all classes, so I think we all know that. Just whenever you get it, it's good. Ogre is out on Xbox. You want to get that up. And I think right now on Xbox, Try is the highest thing you can get for everything. So if you can get it, great. If not, get it whenever you can. So if you just want to take a screenshot, it's hard to really go over all of this just because most of you guys don't have it on console. But high priority on the Zarka, that's out now. Ogre Ring, best in slot. Don't really think any of these are out yet. So whenever they come out, a lot of people have been asking me Kudum versus Nuver. Kudum, if you are lower geared or just PvE a lot. Nuver, if you PvP a lot. Let's just go with that. Alright, in terms of the skills, the important parts, I will show you or just tell you what I think are the priority ones. And as much as I'd love to show you a combo rotation, it really does depend on like who you're fighting, because let's say I'm fighting like a melee class, you don't really want to go into melee range. So openers are a thing, but it's really situational on who you're fighting. So first of all, we'll be going through the main ones, Unawakening skills, and then the Awakening one. Even if you are a PC player, regardless or not, it will be pretty helpful for you. So the first thing you want to do is lock your evasion. The reason why we do this is because sometimes when you dash, you do a roll. You don't want to do that. So like, for example, if you're doing this, sometimes you could just do a random roll instead of, yeah, that random roll right there. You don't want to do that. So just lock this ability, and then you'll just do this normally. And instead of rolling, you'll just kind of do that. Alright, so next, Chain Dusk. Priority, you want to do this. It's your main evasion abilities. Invincible when you disappear, pretty good. Dark Shadow. I'm not really sure how important the absolute is, but it is your Q block. And when you have your weapon out, you block. It's good. Blocking is good. I have played around with Scarring Slash a little bit. Don't really think it's a high priority. What it looks like. Let me just turn on the keyboard thingy so I can show you guys what things would look like. Okay, so if you're doing that, that's what the Scarring Slash looks like. A or D, left. Spirit Consumption, that's just a passive. I wouldn't really recommend getting this maxed out. I mean, you could play with them all up until 56, and then you get a free respec. So this is not something high on my priority list. So sudden attack after sprinting, you just hold left and that's it. Darkness Burst. Right click. Smoky Haze is the kind of your up shift. And that's kind of cool. So it's a little bit different from this one, but it's just a forward thingy. One thing I have been playing with a lot is the Ultimate Stinger, or just the Unveiled Dagger, Ultimate Stinger. I don't really have the Hidden Strike maxed out, but I mean, if I got the points, I'd probably do it. So the highest priority is when you get your Unveiled Dagger maxed out and Ultimate Stinger. You could leave this at level 1 if you want. So basically, when you're on your Unawakened, just press F, and then you press F twice, or hold it, and it does an extra jab. So if you hit your target directly, it's a stun, it's good. And this one is just kind of HP recovery, PvE ability, so if you do that, cool. If you just PvP, it's not really as important, but I mean, it's good to have. So you could cause a stiffness, and that's just more like a filler combo ability. I personally use it. Would I put it on the high priority list? No. Darkness Burst, don't really use that. Airstrike, this is a high priority skill. Basically, sometimes people use it as an opener in PvP, and you're invincible while moving. It's something that's easy to learn, hard to master, because for Dark Knights, for some reason, it hits twice, and like sometimes you have to turn your camera, otherwise, because of the new CC limit thingy that they added, well, it's not new now, but it's like the latest thing. So all classes have a 2 CC limit, and this counts as 2 because it hits really fast. So what you're going to want to do is, that's what Airstrike looks like. And if I were to hit a target with it, you kind of like, when you turn your camera, you fly a little further. I don't know why. It's just welcome to BDO kind of thing. So when you're in the air, you just kind of turn, and then you can aim, and it only hits as 1 CC instead of 2. I don't really know why. Just blame the game. Airstrike is a good skill. You can use it as an opener. It's not really a damage ability. The reason why you're hitting people or opening it is it like a gap closer. So like if you're here, target's here, you can airstrike into it and then go on to your rotation. It's a bound if you hit them. Same with floating on good hits. So basically that's 1 or 2 of your CCs depending on if you do it properly. If it's, you want it to be 1, not 2. But once again, easy to learn, hard to master. Next we have Slanted Balance. It is a really good skill. I personally like using it in PvP because if you could stiffen someone with it or float them with it, you're pretty much gonna win the fight unless they're like super geared. Then you could get a few hits on them. It is one of those things that is really hard to hit on a person. So like the way you use it would be down left, and that's what it looks like. You could hotkey it. I would honestly just recommend learning how to do it without the hotkey. Basically, you have to be like up really close to the enemy for it to hit. Otherwise, even if you are like slightly off like this, it's not gonna hit. So you have to be like pretty accurate with it. I do think it's a strong skill, but it's something you're gonna have to like be precise about. Luscious Snare, don't use it. Pervasive Darkness is a filler skill. If you know how to use it, it could be good, but it's just a lot of filler in between your high priority skills like Airstrike, Slanted Balance, and all that stuff. So Ravage Rake, filler. Repeated Annihilation, filler. Nocturne is one of those special skills that's very situational. So when you use Nocturne, you can do two different things. So let me show you, for example. I think the only way to use this is quick slot, so just whatever is up to you. So for a second, when you use Nocturne, you go invisible, and you can either go forward or backwards. Hitting forwards would be your offensive, and backwards is defensive. So first, I'm going to do the defensive one. So when you press backwards, you just go into a block, and that's what it does. If you are using it offensively, then you would just turn your camera a little bit, face the target. But since there's no target here, I'm just going to show you what it looks like. So you have a second, and then it'll like go behind the target and then do a little circle slash. It's kind of cool. So that's why if you do Shadow Arena a lot, I do think Nocturne is a very powerful skill, because you have two options. When you go invisible, no one really knows what to do, and you just kind of usually just go forward and no one really knows what to do. So that's a good one. Just go invisible, offense. It's how you win a lot of fights in Shadow Arena, but people are getting smarter, so just learn how to use it. One thing I'm learning how to do, this is enforcement. I'm starting to add this to my rotation more, and I don't think it's a high priority skill. I think it's more of one of those filler skills. However, it is just something to add into your combo. So enforcement, and then of course you want to get termination. So when you use this, you're going to do two skills. I'm going to hold it down, and then it's going to go into your flow. So basically the flows are when you hold it down, you get to do a second ability. So this is enforcement. This is the second one where it shoots out the little cross thingy. That's the flow. It's actually really cool. So if you ever wondered what that was, now you know. That's the flow for it. Not something I'd start with, but if your target is like CC'd or something and you have a split second and everything else is on cooldown, I would use it. But other than that, max it out as a lower priority. Sylvia Slash, I think this is a good one. If you are in close range, you can charge up something, and that's what it looks like. Does it do much damage in PvP? Not really, but it's a forward guard while that happens. If you hit them properly, it's a knockdown, so that's also another one of your CCs. Lunacy Abadeer, this is a very powerful ability. I would consider this like this and Wheel of Fortune as must-gets when you unlock. Ooh, Zarka's up. So when you get that, Lunacy Abadeer, this is only a quick slot one, so put it on whatever you want. The best time to use this is if you get your enemy CC'd and they're just like either floated or knocked down. Just go up to them and just be like, that's what the slam is. It does so much damage when absolute. So it's definitely something, especially if they're debuffed in a war or something, and you just like dash into a group. And Lunacy, you can get a lot of combo kills on there. So I'm not sure which one unlocks first, but whether it's Wheel of Fortune or Lunacy, but you want to get them both. Priority on this one. Wheel of Fortune is something you'll be using a lot during grinding, PvE. It's also really strong in PvP, so this is why I would consider it a priority. So Wheel of Fortune, you could quick slot it, but the hotkey is Shift F. And basically it's your AoE spin, does a lot of damage. And then you can use that with the Rabam, but we'll get into that later. So Wheel of Fortune does a lot of damage. It's also super armor, but sometimes when I use it, it's kind of sketchy. And sometimes when I use it, it doesn't really give me super armor, but mostly it does a lot of damage, and then you could use these as a heavy ability. So if you can get an enemy into there, hit them, they mostly get CC'd, and then you have a few seconds, like 1 or 2 seconds, you can use one of your filler skills that you have. And then if you could possibly get a Lunacy Abadeer hit on them, there's a good chance they're going to die. Obsidian Dashes is your Shift E. The reason why we have this is for your rebombs. I don't think these are high priority skills. They do some damage. These are both fillers. Corrupt Ground is something you would use in grinding. If you need to, as you guys may know, Dark Knight is a heavy MP mana heavy class, so a lot of your skills you're going to be chugging pots more than other classes. So this is one thing that you would use to get some of your MP back. So let's start off with Obsidian Dashes. This one is kind of hard to hit. So basically it just shoots out like a lightning from here to there. And it's on a 12-second cooldown, so it's not really something you'd be spamming, or you can spam. And then Corrupt Ground is Shift Q. Go into a pack of enemies, hit your Shift Q. And then the more targets you hit, the more MP you get back. And if you guys see people in a target dummy and you've ever wondered what that skill was, now you know. Do I think it's worth getting it in Absolute? Only if you have like 2,000 plus and have everything else like priority maxed out. So once again, try to aim this one, hit enemies with it, and then target, go into a group of enemies like that. Like assume these are enemies. You stand right here, Corrupt Ground, you hit all of them, and it's your MP back. So those are pretty much all the awakened ones. I think you get these automatically, so that's good. So if there's anything to learn before Awakening comes out, Wheel of Fortune, priority. Lunacy Abadeer, priority. I would say Nocturne is pretty good. Get it when you can. Slanted Balance and Airstrike. These two, priority. And then everything else is just whenever you can get it. And of course, your passives, just max these out on your own time. Infinite Mastery, get them as you level. You should have this maxed out by 56. Skilled Hunter, increases AP against the PvE one. Get it when you can. It's not expensive. These are just the rage transfers, your Z buffs. Basically up to you. Now let's go into the rebombs. I understand that Xbox doesn't have it, but whenever they come out, most of this is personal preference. Some of my friends use the Shadow Strike. I personally don't use it. It's a combination of Shadow, Bullet, and Lunacy. You should have this one because I told you it's important. Now, whether you get these or not, it doesn't really matter. Shadow Bullet is one of those things that's really hard to hit on targets. I'll show you an example. So you go either A or D and then right click. So you're gonna see me shoot like a black line out of my hand, and kind of hits the target you see right there. So let's see on the, like a normal ground. It's kind of one of those things that if your enemy is good, you're just gonna not hit them with it. So honestly, I figured this one, the way I picked mine was, does it have super armor? Yes? Alright, get the skill. Damage is kind of irrelevant. 1482 times 4. Seems like it's good if you can actually hit the enemy with it. But super armor will probably save you more than often. Now this one is a mixed bag. I personally like the Obsidian Blaze a little bit more, just because the animation for Unfailed Fate is a little bit longer. But once again, why did I choose this one? Because it has super armor. Other than that, the damage is kind of irrelevant for me. So, whichever one you get, you should probably have both of these skills by the time rebombs come out for you. So Wheel of Fortune, priority. I use both of these, but if you could only pick one, it's up to you. I just chose this super armor, so personal preference. Alright, so let's get into the Awakenings. For all of you Xbox players, eventually Awakening will come out, so I'm just going to show it to you now. If you care, you can watch it. If you don't care, bookmark this video, like it, favorite, whatever, and then watch it when it does come out. So, Awakening, TLDR, get everything. But in terms of priority, your Overlord is your E buff, and when you're awakened, This is basically a buff. It's very strong. It gives you attack speed, movement speed, critical hit rate, which is kind of weird because as a Dark Knight, most of your things are already crits anyway, and super armor while using it, so all accuracy plus 15%. Just a good buff to have. So in terms of priority skills for both PvP and PvE, the number one thing I would say you should get is your Spirit Legacy. It looks like a Spirit Bomb, then Seed of Catastrophe, Shattering Darkness, and Spirit Hunt. These are your 4 priority ones. These 2 are just kind of whenever you get the chance. Trap of Abadeer is a good disengage, so if you're in a fight against another melee person and they zoom in close to you, you could disengage with the Trap of Abadeer. Twilight Dash is good for PvP and PvE, and these are all just flows. So, in terms of what I would get first, honestly, like since once you're at 56, I think all of these open up as level 1s. So level them up as you get the chance, but if you're grinding, Spirit Legacy is going to be the biggest help for you because you can spam it, and if you use it while it's on cooldown, it does less damage. So I would recommend hotkeying it because you can spam it. Shattering Darkness has a forward guard, and this one has a stiffness if you hit them. So these are all very solid in PvP as well, and then super armor stiffness. So that's why all these are good. So let me just show you what these look like. Shattering Darkness is your Shift E. The reason why you saw a second one is because that was a flow. I don't think you get this one at 56. It's like 58 or something, 59. But basically it launches the thing twice, and that's pretty neat. It's an AoE. Next we have Shattering Darkness. Shift left mouse button along with the flow. It's really cool. And the reason why I played Dark Knight was because, one, it had really flashy skills, and I was like, ooh, that's really cool. I watched a trailer back when it came out on PC. I was like, oh my god, I must have it. And it's kind of why, like, I saw some of these abilities, and Shift right is your Spirit Legacy. I would not really recommend spamming it in PvP, but in PvE, like, if you can one-shot things, you're most likely going to be doing it. It's not great, but you can do it. So either you shift right, or you just hotkey it on, like, your number 2 and just keep doing that, and it's really... basically, things die. So, Spirit Hunt is like a gap closer. And if you hit your target directly... So, like, you can also use it as a swap from Unawakened to Awakened. So, like, let's say I'm on my Unawakened bar. I can swap directly into Awakened with it. And another thing is, if I am on Awakened, the way you know, like, this may sound obvious, but some people, like, don't particularly see it, whether you are on Awakened or Unawakened. So look at my back, I have the 2 swords. That means I am on my Awakened bar. And then I could swap. If I hotkey my Lunacy or Wheel of Fortune, I could go directly to Unawakened from that. That's why I have it hotkeyed, mostly to swap between Awakened to Unawakened, and if I wanted to swap back without. So what you shouldn't really be doing, this is a no PvP. If you want to learn the animation cancel, advanced tactics and stuff, this is what you don't do. That's how you normally C-swap or whatever. But instead, you could just use some skills and go back into your abilities. Or if you are C-swapping, make sure to Q-block into it. Like, this is how it looks normally. Just C-swap, no animation cancels. See how that took a few seconds? Instead, if you wanted to, like, swap it and you'll have an armor on you, you could do that. There's a, like, split second. Good to know. Not really, like, high priority. If someone's, like, stupidly geared, you're gonna get wrecked either way. Dark Knight is a glass cannon class, so they have a lot of hard matchups, I would say. So Spirit Hunt, this could be used as an opener So like for example, if I were to start with something, let's say I'm unawakened, go into that, airstrike into them, stiffen them with the Spirit Hunt, and then you could either do whatever you want. But these are both like CCs, all of these. And then let's say an enemy rushes up towards you, you could trap a Abadeer, move backwards, and disengage out of an enemy fight. It's pretty cool. And then of course we have our Twilight Dash. You just hit F. And honestly, I see a lot of people doing this. I do this too sometimes. It's a bad habit. This does not do a lot of damage. It's mostly to get in and out of things. It does damage, yes. Not a lot of damage. So if you see a group of enemies, you do not want to go dashing into them, because you will get CC'd and instantly killed. So it's more use it to get in and out, not in and then get CC'd and die. Don't do that. Spirit Blaze is this skill. Down right, it's a really long animation. It doesn't even do that much damage. This is just a flow for it. So I hotkeyed it. It's really hard to find a situation where this would be useful. So normally you would do this and then hold the right down, and that's what it looks like. It looks cool, but it takes like a good 1 or 2 seconds to actually hit. And so the reason why I just hotkeyed it, and I'm just like, yep, skip all that and hit that. Just hit the hotkey and it's good. Honestly, would I recommend getting it? It's kind of good in PvE, but in PvP, there's against another player that's good, you're not going to get this hit off. There's so many other things to do. Touch of Exploitation. It's just, who cares? It's a down attack. You have a lot of other things. You could, honestly, I'd rather spam Spirit Legacy than Touch of Exploitation, but that's just me. So yeah, we've gone over all our skills now. I will go over my add-ons real quick. You don't have to copy me. You could if you want to. I don't care. This is just what I use. So, Wheel of Fortune, Lunacy Abadeer, as I talked about before, very high priority skills. I built mine for PvP, but you could build yours, you know, however you want it. I don't have one of those add-on guide thingies, so I can't show you the options, but I just built mine for PvP. How you do yours, up to you. Airstrike is a very powerful opener, that's why I have it. If you don't want Airstrike, you can swap this out for Slanted Balance. These are just what I use. I would recommend getting Wheel of Fortune, Lunacy Abadeer as priority. This one is kind of your flex one, where you can swap it out for whatever you might want to use more. But it's just me. So, if you don't want to PvP much, you could swap this first line out for like PvE damage or whatever. Maybe a dot. In terms of Awakened, you probably won't have this, but I was thinking about doing other stuff, and the reason why I have Twilight Dash is, once again, I said in and out of things. So if I'm gonna dash, like if I'm in a bad situation and I want to dash out, I might as well leave a dot on my enemy and burn damage. So 10% chance of air smash for target, basically a CC. And if I'm dashing out, this is more kind of a both hybrid PvE and PvP. PvE, PvP ability. So if I'm trying to disengage, there's a dot on them, so I'm still constantly doing damage. And if it's like PvP situation and I'm in a node war and I'm trying to dash out, they have a dot on them, so I can disengage and continuously do damage, and either my teammates can pick them off or not. Spirit Hunt, I would say, is a really good one. Any chance you can get higher attack speed is always good. More dots, bleeding damage, burn damage, pain damage. I have no idea what the difference is. It's just different kinds of dots going on your enemies, and they stack. So Shattering Darkness, honestly, these are all just personal preference. Some of these on Unawakened is like, these two are must-haves. Awakened is just personal preference. I kind of use this one a lot. But if you like the Seed of Catastrophe, for example, or the Spirit Legacy, by all means use that instead of these. I just kind of like having a lot of dots on my enemies. And attack speed is good. More attack speed. I don't know if they stack, but I could always change it at whenever. I wish they kind of sold the add-on guides to change it with silver. I know the only way, as far as I know, is through events and or Pearl Shop. So overall, if I were to say something, I wish I could attack these dummies without the thing. So let's recap a little bit. Unawakened, airstrike into enemies, spirit hunt, flow, smashing, and all this stuff. You could. There's a lot of different combos you could do. So once again, a lot of stuff, very situational based on their fight. Can't really give you any sort of set in stone rotation. All I can tell you is that the priority skills are Wheel of Fortune, Lunacy Abadeer, Airstrike, Slanted Balanced, Nocturne, and these four. The flows and all that stuff, get it when you can. Twilight Dashes is pretty nice, and just use it to get in and out of things. So, with that said, I think I covered everything. If I missed something, feel free to ask me questions. In terms of, like, I'm still practicing. I'm surprised I even have an icon, to be honest. So, still working on this. RBF leaderboards don't count unless you're on Velia 4, but whatever. Let me see. In terms of gear, once again, it's very hard to recommend stuff because console and PC are just like so far apart. What would I recommend getting on console? I'm not even sure what they have, but Gruntle is a good option. Heave is a good option. I remember when I first started, Valencia... Well, like, I played this game since the launch, but that was also 3 years ago. I don't remember what I had, but I remember using Heave instead of Gruntle for a while, just because the HP over the AP helped me survive a little bit more, and especially when I was lower geared, fighting harder enemies, I chose the health over the other things. Also, just a quick tip, this is a little bit different now. The economy is different, but if I were to choose Heave, the reason why is because you have a 2 and 3 set effect that gives more health. So you can mix and match any 2 or 3 pieces. Whereas Gruntle, you have to have very specific sets, like 2, 3, 4 to get the AP. I think before they used to have it like chest and helm, for example, but they changed it. I could have sworn they had it, but I don't know how it is now. But they had very specific customizations, so it's probably easier to use Gruntle now. It's also more expensive than Heave. Well, actually, Gruntle is cheaper than if you were going for the Heave helmet. But if you're just gonna go for like a 3-piece, you could use 3 whatever. Up until you transition into boss gear, and ultimately, it's like, if I could tell you to get boss gear in a certain priority order, it would be Beggs, Tree, Uragons, Griffin, assuming you had all weapons. Of course, Zarka is out on both platforms now. But ultimately, when it comes down to boss gear, you get what you get first. Night Vendor, Marketplace, whichever one gets sold first, you get that one. In the end, you can... doesn't really matter. You get it all eventually. But in terms of awakened weapons, console, you can only get it in a certain order right now. Zarka's the only one out. Whenever Awakened comes out, that's when Dandelion comes out, I believe. I don't know. But yeah, then Nuver. I think this comes out with Valencia. Probably same with Awakening. Uragon is probably not going to be out for a while because that was a Kama Sylvia exclusive one. And Kama Sylvia came out like after Valencia, so that's probably like, I don't know, at least another 3 months or so for console players. Griffin, same thing, Kama Sylvia, at least 3 months from now for you. Dimtree, I'm not sure when these are coming out. Beg should be out on console, but I'm not sure. Dimtree is Calpheon, so which you do have, but I don't know if the world boss is there. There's a good chance you're just gonna get this off Night Vendor. So, once again, in terms of boss gear, you get whatever you can find first. It's not really a big deal. Same with accessories. I'll point this out now, even though the accessories, half of them aren't even out. But if you are a PC player, in terms of money to AP value, the Crescent Rings are 3 AP and the cheapest upgrades. Then you want to go Ogre Ring, and then you want to go Basilisk Belt, and then Tungreds, because these are 2 AP. So, Ogre Ring you might think is really expensive. I understand that. It is expensive. And the reason why we are going Ogre Ring next is because it gives 5 AP per upgrade instead of 3. So the money you're paying for that one. Honestly, at this point in the central market on PC, you might as well get Rings, then Belt, then Ogre. Ogre, Leighton, Tungrad, it's all the same thing. Whatever, you're here for the AP, not the extra benefits. So you can go Rings, Belt, necklace. I know it says ring, but it's actually a necklace. And then lastly, I would say these are kind of personal preference. Tungrads are the AP ones. However, if you want a like hybrid one, you can go Blue Whale Molar. Now this at Tet. Tet is the same thing as a Tri-Tungrad. You get the 13 AP. The difference is instead of getting the Black Spirit Rage, you get 100 HP. Which one is more important to you? But I think the Tet Whale Molar is a little bit more expensive than the Tungrad. You're paying for the extra health. This part, anything that I go on now is all for PC. Console is not going to get it for a while. In terms of ring slots, best in slot is the Eye of the Ruins. Same like AP as Crescent. The only thing you're paying for is the extra health or HP. It's also 3 billion silver more. So which one is more valuable to you? Do you want to save up the extra money for the 100 extra health? Is it worth it? In my opinion, the time to be upgrading from like Crescents to Eye of the Ruins is when you are already geared, and because AP will always like outvalue the extra health. I guarantee you it. I can beat 280 AP people. It's really on, do you know how to play your character? Velisart, probably not going to be out for a while on console. And honestly, this may sound bad, but I really hope it doesn't come out to console, because doing Vel on PC is already a lot of a cluster, and like it might just melt your Xbox if you and it, like if you've ever seen videos of it, I have videos of it. Vel lags so hard on PC that it might just melt your Xbox. It's that bad. Basilisk Belt is probably going to come out with Valencia. Same with Tungrad Earrings. Well, same with Crescents. The only thing that's out right now on console is Ogres. Literally every other gold accessory comes out with Valencia. So yeah, I think I covered everything important for both PC and console players. If I did miss something, feel free to let me know. I would like to answer your questions. In terms of food rotations, I don't know what's out on console. Honestly, I've been super lazy lately. I just use cron meals. But if you are looking for 3 or 4 food rotation for like sieges, PvP, or just long-term grinding, Kama Sylvia meal, Knight's Combat rations, King of Jungle Hamburg, and after that, honestly, your fourth food doesn't really matter, right? Like, if you were to choose something, I don't even know how to search for, like, this is why I just kind of just buy cron meals. Cron meals are like the equivalent of, what, 2.5 foods, but if you want like to min-max it, you're going to want to do a 4-food rotation plus villas plus elixirs. It's just a lot of setup and hassle, so King of Jungle Hamburg. The gold ones are always sold out. You can probably get the blue ones. The difference is the time on it. You get 10 extra minutes. There's a lot of orders on it, so it depends on what you do. The fourth food you could use is a special Valencia meal. It's more defensive buffs. Margoria seafood. This is the PvE one. Honestly, just pick whatever you want. Doesn't matter. Serendia meals work too. So, I'm lazy. I use cron, but if you want like PvP, the only time I use like 3 or 4 food rotations is when I go into Node Wars. Other than that, if I'm grinding, cron is the way to go. I'm just lazy. Trina Axe is probably not in console yet. It's for Node Wars and Sieges. Nothing to worry about. Elixirs, what do I use? I use the Giant Draft, and this one's for PvP, and the one I use for PvE is, this one's the PvE one, PvP, and life skill. Savage one, this is also PvE, I think. I don't use it. So overall, TLDR, Wheel of Fortune, Airstrike, Lunacy, Slanted Balanced, Nocturne, everything else here. When you're buying potions, just press F, buy max quantity. You're going to need it. That's about it. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you guys a little bit later. If you have more questions for anything Dark Knight related, do let me know. I think I covered everything, but I probably forgot something that I'll remember like 30 minutes after the video is live. So if you have any questions, feel free to let me know. Thanks so much. I'll see you guys later.